Since the dawn of time, man has been curious. And for almost as long, the Vibes Broadcast Network has sought the truth. Investigate, discuss, explore. Okay, maybe in other episodes, but this one is just listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. I have here Mr. Ibrahim Dar. Okay, I said that right?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. I want to make sure I got it right. Well, anyway, you're in Pakistan?
Yes, Islamabad, the capital.
Sweet. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a delay. We're trying to work through this, but I think we're going to have a wonderful conversation. I got to talk to this wonderful gentleman just before we started the interview, and he is incredible, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So we're just going to let you talk about you for a little bit.
So I am a professional speaker. I'm a public speaker, but I wasn't born a speaker. I was born a baby, so I couldn't talk. Well, all babies, no babies can talk. So it wasn't like I had a disability. I was just a normal baby, but I started learning how to talk at a normal age, but I was pretty shy. So I was very selective about the people with whom I would talk. Until one day I was forced upon picked as class rep for the class assembly, so I had to speak in front of 200 people. I got pretty excited about it, and I wrote a whole speech that I didn't believe in, something regarding the environment, right? So I just memorized the whole thing as a baby, like as a kid. What would I know about the environment? So I just Wikipedia'd the whole thing, memorized it, went on stage, said, "Ladies and gentlemen, friends and teachers, my name is Ibrahim Dar," and forgot the first word. But because I had memorized the whole thing and I forgot the first word, I forgot the second and everything that came after it. And I just stood there frozen. And to make things worse, I started crying. And as handsome as my face might look right now, it's actually pretty like I cry ugly. And the assembly conductor let me stand there and put it on display. So I just put my ugly crying face on display for like, I don't know, like a whole minute before he took the mic. And when I went to class, I was feeling pretty bad, but we had this teacher, Mr. Ruffy. He came in and he said, "Congratulations, Ibrahim." I thought he was being ironic. And I said, "Why? I cried in front of 200 people. And he said, "No, you said your name in front of 200 people. You've never done that before." And that's when I actually repositioned that failure as a success. I was like, okay, I failed to do this keynote, which I thought was going to be this this definition of success for me was like a Steve Jobs level keynote. I didn't do that, so I have failed. But no, I repositioned that and comparing that to what I had done before, I had stepped like that was the first step into being a public speaker. And I said, I'm going to try again. And ever since, I've just been trying again. And just because I got so much self-esteem from conquering that, I have just become personally involved with speaking. I derive so much fulfillment from actually making people better at speaking as well, and speaking to people. It's just, this was the switch from introvert to extrovert because of that moment. So whenever people ask who I am, I actually tell that story, because if that had gone south, if I had seen that as a failure and taken that personally and made it my story that I am the person who cannot speak, like so much of my career, so much of my success just never had happened. So I really take that as my origin story.
You know, you mentioned about how that was you took that as a positive thing. One thing that I've always tried to stress to people is, to become successful and to have goals, to make a vision board. And, I've lived by that. Well, somebody had kind of one-upped me on that the other day when I'd mentioned it. He says, I have a vision board, but it's a reverse vision board. I'm like, a reverse vision board? And he goes, yeah, I put up all the things that I've done or I've accomplished and I've done right. And I look at it and it reminds me, hey, I've come a long way. Like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. That's a great thing to do.
Bravo. Like, I have an exercise for confidence. It basically says that go back and pick out every single one of your virtues. Why? Because if you're driving and you lose the way, you realize that you have lost the way. You've done something wrong. But if you just go all the way right, you don't have that moment of pausing and saying, hey, I did this right. You don't have that pause. So we're more consciously aware of when things go wrong. And that's why we count our negatives without even trying. And if we don't do it, people sure remind us. If we don't do it, people remind us. But our positives, we don't count them. So that's why I ask people to deliberately pick out and I cite this research that they've done in a book called 7 Sins of Memory, I believe, about how people's unreliable memory is used against them by police in interrogations. Like, they ask leading questions, and because the brain is a problem-solving machine, it finds answers to those leading questions, and people incriminate themselves. I say use that positively. Ask yourself, hey, if I want to position myself as a brave guy, I'm going to say, what were the moments in my life where I was brave? And I have to find 10 moments. I give myself that task. My problem-solving brain will find 10 tasks from the smallest to slightly biggest, and like slightly bigger all the way to the biggest ones. I will find 10 different times when I have been brave. And then I take that momentum and I do at least one more thing, physical thing in the present that I find to be brave, and suddenly I ground that momentum into my self-image. Every single negative thing people think is put in their head somewhere else. It's usually that they've failed and then they've taken that failure personally. But yes, a vision wall, to accept your vision wall, definitely you gotta make an accomplishment wall. Your guest is so totally right. Your friend is so totally right. You have to do that.
Well, like you said, we look at the things we haven't done and our failures, and we don't give ourselves enough credit for the things that we have done. I'm really bad about that. But I realize how far that I have come from, especially like when I started doing podcasting. I go back and I'll watch some of those old ones and I'm like, oh my God, how awful was I? And then I got more confident and I learned not to rely on, I've got a sheet of paper in front of me to ask questions. I pay attention to what the person's saying. And then we go on from a conversation from there, and it's more natural. People enjoy it a lot more. I feel better about myself, and hopefully that exudes.
Yes, because
folks.
Yeah, I had a podcast conversation with someone who probably was like an earlier version of you. So it's like I'm time traveling because it was really like filling a questionnaire. I left so many open roads for the person to pursue, and they just come back to like something that was written, and then they were saying it in a robotic way. And after the podcast, I actually had, after the podcast, I had a 15-minute session with the person, letting them know that what they can improve, and also telling them that they have to expect at least 20 failures. Otherwise, they'd leave podcasting, because where they were, it was a real possibility. And I was like, you know what? You have to make it a goal to fall flat on your face 20 times. So the next time you do it, you don't think that, oh, podcasting is not for me. You think, oh, 1 down, 19 more to go. Because you have to set yourself apart from every single amateur who's just dabbling. And once you persist past 20 disappointments, whether it is a negative review, whether it is a guest complaining, whether it is low downloads, after 20 disappointments, if you persist, you're among the serious few, and then you deserve success.
Well, that's something to consider is if you think that you're there already and you're not willing to
Oof.
keep learning, then you've already failed. And I know I make
Yeah.
mistakes all the time. I'll have people say, "Oh, you're famous. You're on YouTube and you do that." Okay, I'm not there yet. I still make mistakes. I'm still learning as I go along, and I have no shame in asking people for advice. What am I doing wrong? Please critique me because I want to get better. You have to be able to be willing to accept that as well. You're not going to be perfect, but you can keep striving and just do it. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Just start, do it, and just keep going from there.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And that's another thing. In like when I say charm like a narcissists usually look, here's the thing is you are able to be confident. We all have the ability to be confident. Some people say, I'm not a confident person. No. When you were born, you cried for milk. You didn't say, I'm an introvert, let me text my mother to bring me milk. No, you cried the same as every extrovert, all right? And here's the thing. You then had the confidence that you will get milk every time you need milk. And then you grew up a little and you had confidence that you will get food anytime there is dinner time, unless you were in a very unfortunate situation. But for the most part, you have confidence in your parents. You know why? Because you're not aware of their limitations. And then once you discover the concept of income and money, then you're a little less confident in their ability to get you the toys for Christmas. You ask like 3 times, hey, am I really going to get it? Well, quote unquote, Santa, bring me that. Even though you deep down know that Santa is false, you got to pretend. But my point is, as you discover limitations, like in school, I'll tell you, my mom said I was really into Simba, okay, the Lion King, and I wanted a realistic Simba full body suit. And she's like, you get 90 in your exam, and I'm going to buy you that. And in my mind, I was like, okay, so I'm not getting it. Not because I was unsure of my ability to score that high. I was unsure of because I was aware of my mother's stinginess. This woman, on my dad's salary, which was a middle class salary, got us 3 mansions by just saving up. Okay, so she was super stingy. So I knew that this woman is not going to get me a realistic Simba suit. I didn't have the confidence in her promise because I was aware of the limitations of her, let's say, generousness or like open-handedness. It's an expression, open-handed in Urdu basically means like someone who spends big.
Gotcha.
Awareness of limitation. Awareness of limitation is what makes you doubt your confidence. And that's why self-confidence is the hardest, because you're the most aware of your own flaws. That's why you can be confident in anyone else, but when it comes to yourself, you're a bit hesitant. Narcissists don't have that. Narcissists don't have that. And here's the advantage. Now, of course, there are disadvantages to that, but the advantage is, as you said, just do it, just get started. Narcissists do that. It's like, hey, who wants to be the class monitor, the class prefect, the class president? Narcissist kids will raise their hand. Doesn't matter if I'm qualified, I want that, and I deserve it. They think they deserve it, so they aim high, first of all. And if they fail, they're not going to take responsibility, so they're not going to take it personally. They're going to try again. And these 2 things take them to this high status from where they can be charming. Status is needed to be charismatic, because I say charisma is someone who you think is special, making you feel special. And narcissists usually end up in these positions where if they just remember your name, you're not going to sleep at night, because the special person, because they're either like the president or their CEO, they usually rise to these positions because of 2 things only. 1, they aim unreasonably high, and 2, they don't take failure personally. They just try again. So if you want to replicate getting to the same position and being as charming, you got to aim high And as you said, get started with your podcast, get started with your blog, and then just don't take failure personally. Keep just doing it.
You have to be willing to take criticism. That's the way you learn. And
Yes.
I make
And-
plenty of
and
mistakes.
that's the disadvantage of narcissists. That's the disadvantage of narcissists. They cannot take criticism. If you take the best things about a narcissist, like aiming high and repeatedly trying, if you take those two things and then you also incorporate realistic listening to criticism, you get like a charming guy who is on an obvious track to success, like yourself. You get that because you're also able to listen to criticism, not just because you said I'm going to have an audience bigger than Joe Rogan and I'm just going to go for it and I'm not going to listen to anyone else. Not because of that, but because you also have the humility to listen where you're going wrong and improve.
Exactly. You have a confidence that I wished I was as confident as you are, but I will tell you, I want y'all to listen to this story. This is how we met. We met on matchmaker.fm. And we're like, oh, matchmaker. No, we weren't looking for a date. It is a website that you can go to, and you can either put out there that you want to be a guest on a podcast, or you can be a podcast looking for a guest. And so you find different people, and Ibrahim actually reached out to me, and I've read his profile, and I'm like, this guy has some confidence, and I could tell he's got a sense of humor. And we had such a great conversation before we even started the interview. The guy is funny, and we had so much in common. We're on different parts of the world, but we found some common ground. And like I said, I love your humor. I want you to tell the story about your voice coach.
Okay. So we're talking, first of all, the thing is, Kyle is so engaging, right? I didn't even learn that we're not even recording a podcast. So I'm just talking to him. And right now, I just moved to this apartment here because I live in Dubai. So I'm here temporarily in Pakistan because I'm getting married to a woman who I have never met, because that's how Pakistan operates. But so I'm in Pakistan temporarily, right? I don't have a microwave. I have hot food waiting outside, and it's getting cold, and I'm not even paying attention to it because Kyle is so engaging, right? We're talking about different things, and we suddenly go to sense of humor. And I'm talking about how people are being trained to take things too seriously nowadays. And fortunately, it's not happening in our part of the world yet. So before I started like getting my conversations recorded, I got an accent coach, right? And she asks me what my goals are. She's like, are you auditioning for acting? It's like, do you want to sound perfectly American? You want to sound British, It's like, no, sister. I just want to get rid of the call center accent. And
I love that story. Oh my God. See, that when you can make fun of yourself, and people just, I don't know. I'm drawn to people like that you can be a regular human being without, making everything so serious and so offensive. And, that's why I think we get along so well, as we just have that sense of humor.
And if anyone of your listeners wants to replicate this confidence, of course, your own personality, it will emerge differently, but to get confidence, all you have to do is sit down and make a list of times when you thought like things are going horribly, everything is over. And we've all had that because life has its ups and downs. And just realize that you've survived all of it. The best thing about doing this exercise is that if you're doing it, you're already a survivor. You just need to witness it. So I used to be fat enough to require a double bed to just sleep. Okay. Really.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I lost 80 pounds. But before that, people did not see me the way they see me now. They saw me as a lazy person and everything that's associated with being fat, right? So I was fine when people saw me that way. So I'm so totally not image conscious at all. I'm like, hey, if you see me any way you choose to, it's okay. I'll be fine regardless of your opinion about me. And the more concerned you are about how people see you and how you try to manage how they look at you, people feel like so forced. And instead, if you give them the freedom to just come to their own conclusion about you, and you're like, I'm fine. This I'm fine attitude, internalize it, practice it every single day. Every time things are not fine around you is the opportunity for you to exercise the I am fine philosophy. And once you master it, you will not be able to help but be confident in any situation.
Well, you know, I told you before we went on that I'd had spinal surgery, and
Exactly.
you know,
Yes.
I used to go around in a wheelchair, and people would say, "Oh, how are you?" And I'd say something like, you know, "Oh, I'm just rolling along." You know, it's like it wasn't a big a deal. Don't feel sorry for me. You know, there's people worse off than I am. At least I still have my legs, right? And now that I've had the spinal surgery and gone through the rehab and I'm able to walk, I mean, yeah, sure, I'm still limited to a lot of things I can do, but look how far I've came. And I didn't
Yeah,
let that hold
dude,
me back.
but come to Dubai, you'll wish you had your wheelchair, because you know wheelchair parking is the only parking spot that's there at malls. Everything is taken. You might wish that your battery pack and all of that thing would have never happened, because you would be able to park in the good spots. So
Hey,
there's that privilege.
I still have my handicap plates though, because you know I still
Oh,
can't walk
okay.
you that far. So I do have. That's why everybody likes to take me along, because I can take my handicap placard and they get all the best
Oh
parking
yeah, that's the
spots.
best of both worlds, really, right?
But yeah, just say don't take things so seriously.
And that's why I say, you know, best of both the worlds. For example, like having a handicap card and then not being seriously handicapped. It's like the best of both the worlds. I say like that. Being a feminist in Pakistan is best of both the worlds, really, because you get the brownie points of being all for equality, while the whole tradition culture is going to make sure that you as a man come out on top. It's like best of both worlds. It's like I enjoy I enjoy the patriarchy while just giving lip service to feminism. It's like really the best.
Hey, the best times we're sitting out in front of the store waiting for my wife to come out, and I'm in my wheelchair and I have my sunglasses on. If I had a cup sitting next to me, I'd have at least $10 by the time she came out the door. So you know, yeah, it has its advantages.
Yeah, but hey, in the hierarchy of privilege, uh, a handicapped white guy versus a brown guy, who do you think has more of a victim status?
More the victim status. Oh man, it depends on
Yeah.
what. It depends on whose eyes you're looking through. Now, I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm gonna let you answer that question.
I bet I could get more sympathy out of people by playing up the brown guy than you just with your card. I bet you. I bet you.
But
I'd
you
be
know
like,
what?
I yeah, I'd literally do the Jesse Smollett story. You know, I'd be like somebody came with a turban with a Pakistani scarf, just tied it around my neck and said, "This is a MAGA country now." And I'd just be like, it's crazy. I know that fake story, but somebody did exactly the same thing. It's so crazy. And they'd still not be able to disagree with me because I'm brown, you know?
Well, you know, yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, yeah, like I say, you have to think of the victim's eyes who you look. I mean, because you know, some white folks they're kind of looked down on now, and you know, brown people are elevated a little bit. But I mean, in reality, I guess most people would say, "Oh, I feel more sorry for the brown dude than I do the white dude."
Yeah, well, but here's the thing. The thing about real people is we'd at the end of the day just not choose it. Like whether there is like the ability to just claim that sympathy, it's like it's not earned sympathy. Plus, you cannot monetize sympathy. You cannot become a leader based on sympathy. You can become a leader You can become successful based on your people skills, your socializing, your confidence in yourself, and your self-respect. The fact that you believe you've earned what you have got, it's so crucial. And all of this, like other stuff, which we just joke about, I'd never take anything that I would be getting just for being brown. I'd never take it because I'd not feel like I've earned it.
Well, this is the thing. If we were out in front of the Stop and Go, they would think that I was just some old wino, and they would think you owned the store. So.
And I'm telling you, dude, if I were there, I'd have at least some shares, or one of my relatives would be owning the store. So it wouldn't be too far off.
Oh, I love it. Okay, you got to tell me about your book. What's the name of your book?
So the book is called Superstore Owner. the biography of it. No, the book is called Charm Like a Narcissist, and it's about deconstructing what narcissists unconsciously do to reach into high status positions, and why they are so charming, why cults built around narcissists. And it's taking all of that and making it accessible for the average individual, so they can reverse engineer things like this, things that, for example, are there in my personality as well, like the confidence and this easygoing attitude and the ability to talk to people without these inhibitions. How it comes, that's why I recommend people to get the paperback. The ebook version is what, like $1, you get Kindle Unlimited, you can actually read the content, like, and I don't really make any money off of it. But the paperback version has a workbook at the end, so you can actually do the exercises and become more confident. A lot of these exercises I'm actually covering in this podcast as well, for people who just don't have the time to get the book. I still want to give people value. So like the looking back exercise, the I will be fine principle, these things, if you build, like in the book, they're organized in like what you need to do first, what next. If you do all of these things in order, you become your most charismatic self. And I'm obsessed with charisma because I grew up fat. So I had to be charismatic and charming and have, you have to be, see, that's the thing. I call it the fat advantage. If you grow up fat, dude, you have to, it's hard mode, life on hard mode. So you have to be more like, more entertaining, more engaging, just to have the same level of friendship and a friend group as someone who's just smart. And then I went ahead and I got physically fit, and it was over for everyone after that. It's like I was going to get all the girls, and as a Muslim I can get 4. So there was like 3 dudes who are not going to get a girl now. You know, we can marry 4 women.
Really? Okay, I need to move to Dubai then.
Yeah,
actually, you know what? Maybe I'll take that back. I don't know if I need 4 women. It's hard enough putting up with 1. I couldn't imagine putting up with 4.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what made me lose the weight, and it wasn't just to look better. I had a heart attack at age 36. That was 15 years ago, and found out I was diabetic, the whole 9 yards, and I lost about 70 pounds. Now I have put on about 10 pounds since all this pandemic started, but for the most part, I've kept myself pretty trim. And for somebody that can't get around as well as I wished I could, I still try to, get out and walk. You can still do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
Definitely. So I lost my weight. People ask me what I did, and I just tell them diet and exercise, and suddenly they don't want to do it. But like, they come to me as if I have a secret. See, the difference between most people who want to lose weight and don't lose weight and me is I had a strong reason. Reason matters more than the execution. So in anything in life, if you want to do something, really think about the deeper reason why you want to do it, because knowing your reason, I'll tell you, my reason was like, I tripped on a basketball, fell on my ass, and suddenly I got a slip disc. And we went to the doctor, and I was like, what can we do? And the doctor was like, well, so the first thing is you're poor, so you cannot get like a slip disc. I mean, you have money, but not the getting an artificial slip disc money. Artificial slip disc in Dubai money. Maybe go to like Bangladesh or some place, you might be able to get it. But then you get a slip disc that's cheap, but they make the difference, like the money difference they make by taking your kidney. So like you don't even know it, and they sell it and they make the difference. So there's really like surgery option wasn't there for me. The only option I had was to be not fat, to get slim. So I started walking for 30 minutes, and the area I could cover in 30 minutes started to increase. And in about 3 months, I looked at one of my older photos and I was like, wow, I've lost so much weight. It really is about consistency. And I just went 2 more months in, and then I lost a total across those 5 months, 80 pounds. I lost that weight, and I lost it for my health. But now, like, the benefits, dude, thin person privilege, if only the fat people knew about it, there would be a whole movement. It's like every other, like, oh my God, there's serious fit person privilege, dude, in the world. Wow. So once I discovered the perks of, I discovered the perks of
no, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. The perks of looking your best self and looking fit, man, right now, I don't have sugar. Like in my drinks, I use aspartame-based sweetener. And somebody told me, it's like, dude, do you know this artificial sweetener, this low-calorie sweetener, this can cause cancer? And I'm like, well, at least my corpse will look good. It's like, I'd rather like... Staying fit for me now is about the looks, to be honest. I'm going to be honest. It was about health, but now I take unhealthy options that keep me fit, except meth.
Well, I mean, for me, it was the health. I used to have my blood sugar would be up in the 400, 600 range, which is why it was a contributing factor to my heart attack. And now it's like, I stay between 150, 200. It just kind of depends. I mean, I pretty much eliminated the sugars and stuff out of my diet, but I keep a watch on it. But the biggest benefit it's been for me is I get to see my junk again. Do you use
insulin?
I take metformin, actually. I got off the insulin, and I used to be at it started out, I think it was at 2,000 milligrams, and then it went down to 1,000 milligrams. Now I'm at 500 milligrams a day.
Okay. That's good. That's good. The thing is, like, my parents, they got arranged marriage as well. So it's like they didn't like see each other and all that. It was an arranged marriage. So when I asked them, I'm like, you guys got married. What do you even have in common? And they said diabetes. So it's like in my family, I was at risk. I was pre-diabetic, and actually losing weight was good for me in that way as well. I used to have insulin deposits on my neck, so it used to get really dark. Do you know about insulin deposits?
I did not know that.
So it's like there's type 1 diabetes and type 2. I think type 2 is one where your body cannot even process insulin. So that means that you have insulin in your blood, but it just comes out with your sweat, and it forms deposits, and it really looks like you haven't taken a shower. Like, it gets really dark, and that's not a good look, dude. But yeah, as soon as I lost weight, that thing also went away.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even know that. I've never been told that before. I mean, I am type 2 diabetic. Like I say.
Okay, then type 1 might be the one. Then type 1 because if your body cannot process insulin, cannot use insulin, then you don't get insulin injections. That's a different type of diabetes. Then there's one where you actually lack insulin, and that's where insulin injections help. And I believe then that's the type of diabetes that you have, and the one that my mother has.
Yeah, type 1, your sugar will get low all the time. Type 2, it stays high. And really and truly, for the most part, mine stays at the right range. But 120 is about normal, so most of the time it's there. But it's weird is if I fast, then when I check my sugar after I've fasted, because I guess my body is trying to process whatever little bit is in there, it'll make the numbers jump. It's crazy.
Interesting. The first time I'm hearing about this.
Yeah. I was telling my doctor that when I was getting my stimulator put in my spine, and I said, you know what, you're the second person who's told me that. I'm like, really? Because they weren't, that kind of doctor that knows about diabetes and stuff.
Yeah.
They just check, because if it's too high, they won't do the surgery. But
Yeah.
it does happen to some folks, I guess.
Yeah.
What?
But my parents won't even be able to like test this hypothesis. We don't like to fast. We do it in Ramadan, and then it's like, let's not do it again. It's 3 meals a day and 3 snacks in the middle every single day. My uncle was trying to lose weight. He got me to sit down and write like my entire diet plan for him. And he's like, I'm going to be healthy. And now here's the thing is, when his wife was pregnant, he was still the more like the fatter of the two. So he really was obese, and he got the diet down. And then the next day I go by his house. We used to watch television together, and he had this huge plate of huge family platter of rice in front of him, and he's eating it. And I just looked at him and I'm like, Halu, diet? And he just points to a small bowl of salad. And I was like, wait, do you think that's supposed to fix all of it? It's like, okay, I'm having something healthy on top of everything unhealthy. So it's pretty hard to even test the hypothesis of fasting with my parents. But yeah, I'd like to see why a diabetic on a fast would have higher blood sugar. Well, something to do with digesting better.
Carbs turn to sugar, and I try to keep my carbs below 60 a day, and that helps to maintain the weight. And every once in a while, of course, you kind of go a little crazy and have a little bit more than that, and so your body is deprived and it holds on to a lot of this stuff. And then when you're not intaking it and your body's trying to keep from starving, it'll grab from whatever it can get energy from, which is from the carbs. And so then it becomes sugar. And I believe that's why your sugar goes up. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to swear by
somebody
that.
Will be in the comments. This will spike up your engagement, because somebody will be really mad in the comments. People don't really comment when they're happy with the podcast, but if they've got a bone to pick, you're going to see a review.
Hey, if it's engagement, it's engagement, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my hypothesis, and I'm sticking to that story. So no, but I do love your energy, and I hope that people that read your book or listen to the podcast, whatever show that you might be on, even if it's not mine, if they're listening to you, I hope that they pick up on that and realize, hey, I can build on that. I could be successful. And that's the thing, is having the confidence to actually go for it. That's why you don't have 100 CEOs at a company. You have one or two, according to how big the company is. But
definitely.
I mean, come on. If you want to get there, you have to have that confidence to say, you know what, even if I have to wing it until I learn it, I'm going to do it. And that's what I did when I started doing this.
Mentally lower the stakes of everything in life, and you will be able to get farther ahead than if you were to put everything on a pedestal. If look, the thing is, dude, you've got grandkids, so you're not on the dating market, I assume, but a lot of your listeners might be. But here's the thing: if you put a girl on a pedestal, that's the problem with a lot of people. Is, for example, when they go to a dating coach, they say, I want to go out with Jessica. That should not, no dating coach should take you if you say that, because your goal should be, I want to go out with a girl I like. And that's a broader category. That means if Jessica, I'm sorry if one of your listeners feels attacked because her name is Jessica, I just picked it out of a hat. If Jessica doesn't like you, so what? there's another girl. If the employer with whom you're sitting for an interview doesn't like you, so what? There are other employers. If you lower the stakes of any situation, you can be more confident. And that's one. Or you can be an expert. For example, if you are asked what your name is and you're a shy person, you are an expert in your name. So you will still be pretty confident saying, my name is Kyle. And I will be pretty confident saying, my name is Ibrahim. Because we are experts in our own name. So the first way to be confident is to lean into your expertise. The second way to be confident is to just lower the stakes mentally of whatever it is in which you're not a master. You're not a master podcaster. Say, what if I put out a podcast and no one listens? By definition, no one listens, so who cares? So you just lower the stakes. Like, ask yourself a question. Once again, use your brain's problem-solving ability to lower the stakes. So ask yourself the question, why what I'm afraid of doesn't matter? And the answer to that is what will make you confident. Why it doesn't matter that Jessica doesn't want to go out with you because there are like 4 billion other women. Of course, a lot of them are 70-year-olds, and perhaps you don't want to go with 70-year-olds. Or perhaps you want to go exclusively with 70-year-olds. But my point is, there might not be 4 billion available women, but there are plenty of women who happen to be in your taste range, for example. So take it farther than Jessica. Take it farther than PwC or whichever company you want to work with. Make your goals slightly broader so you are less desperate, so the stakes are lower. And by simply lowering the stakes, you can be confident.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I would like to get all the links that I can to like social media, your book, everything, so I can put it in the description.
I don't have social media really. I have a newsletter, so I'm in touch with my followers. Okay. I send out a thought a day. So if you put my contact section of my website, and if somebody just messages me, okay, if somebody just messages me through that contact section, I'll put them on my email list, and that's the only way to get in touch with me. And the rest is just my website. So I don't do social media because I don't want to be a foot soldier for Zuckerberg. Most of my connections in my real life are personal connections. I like to go out, meet people, talk to people, engage with people on podcasts, for example, right? And then the next thing I do is I have a digital newsletter, so I'm in touch with a broader audience, and and the best thing about that is because I don't have social media where I'm just distracted by unproductive things, I can pay attention to people I care about. So when people from my newsletter email me back, I often have the time to respond. Okay. And one thing for your audience, I'm just going to do a freebie. One person I'll pick from all the people who message me after this podcast. I'll pick one person to give a free coaching session to. This will be picked at random. Unless your name is Jessica because of the coincidence, then it's going to be a free session only for Jessica. But if no one named Jessica is watching, okay, if that coincidence doesn't happen, then I'll pick a random person from the people who message with your name or your show's name in the contact section, and I'll give them a free confidence coaching session.
I use social media to put out the podcast. Quite honestly, I don't spend a lot of time on it, and I know it must frustrate some people that get on and they like my stuff, and I don't get back and like all their stuff. And it's not that I'm being snotty or rude. I get on, put on my post, and then I'm off of it. I don't like to spend a lot of time on it.
Like their stuff, not because I'm being snotty, but because my stuff is just better. They should just like my stuff, and I should not respond.
Well, no, I'm really not that way. I like talking to everybody.
Man, sometimes in life, sometimes the most supportive people also have stuff that really sucks, and it's so sad because you're like, I want to put your stuff out there as well. I want as much attention to come to your stuff, but you got to make better stuff. Sometimes that's how life is. And hey, sometimes a lot of things I do suck. So I'd rather have someone tell me that, hey, your stuff sucks, improve it.
Yeah.
Dude, I sent my book. I sent my book to a line editor. Not a line editor, a beta reader. Oh, dude, brutal. They just tore apart my book. They were like, oh my God. They're like, this is wrong in here. This is wrong in here. This, you got to change this. It was like one of the comments. I mean, I'm all for feedback, but one of the comments was punctuation like a third grader. I'm like, come on. But then, it got a line editor, everything, guy, all professional, injected my jokes and everything. So once the thing was perfect, it actually increased to 3 times its original size. I put it on, Amazon sends me a notification. Basically, my book is Amazon didn't send it. My publicist sent me regarding Amazon that it's in the top 10% of all short self-help paperbacks. I'm like, it's still short.
Oh my
It's
God.
like your wife telling you, yeah, it's like your wife telling you that you're the best person in bed of all of your friends. You're like, oh my God, is this good news or bad news? It's still short.
Well, at least she didn't tell you were short. But
brutal. But here's the thing, man. Because the book is technically short, it means that even if you're not an avid reader, you can still read through it. And I've written it in a way that's engaging enough. There are enough jokes to carry people through the book. So it's accessible. It's very accessible.
does it come in comic book form? That might be the only way I understand it.
Oh no, but the cover has me with some girl's hands tearing apart my shirt. So yeah, so perhaps that's an incentive.
That's why it's in the top 10 books. This has been a blast, man. I have had such a good time, and I hope you'll come back on, because I feel like we have more stuff to talk about.
Definitely. And I'm so glad I've had a conversation with at least one host who sucks, so I can actually appreciate a good host. So thank you for being a good host.
Oh,
love this conversation, man.
I appreciate that. I really do. I want to leave it at this, that I thank you again for being on. And I want to thank
you, sir.
If you have come to this channel for the first time, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you come back. For those of you that are regular to the channel, thank you for your support. It means everything. And without you, I wouldn't be able to continue to bring out a positive message. And as always, take care and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network